All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect. Another quick news and prophecy, and the main point of concern is the universal basic income. And we're going to come back to this video here, but this is from CNN. This came out yesterday. It says AI's job shakeup is accelerating. Is it time for universal basic income? Okay, so it's here. All right, we're all over this thing because we know eventually that they're going to roll out that MOTB system according to prophecy, right? Isaiah 34:16, seek ye out of the book of the Lord, YAHAWASHI, and read. No one of these shall fail. None of the prophecies shall fail. None shall want her mate, for my mouth it have commanded, in his spirit it have gathered them. Isaiah 42 and verse 9, behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. All right, so you're being told of this very system that they're bringing to pass. All right, we talked about the universal basic income. All right, they're talking about giving every American $2,000 and, you know, getting rid of money, things like that. All right, so it's all coming to pass. So before we get into the video, I saw this on the feed as well. And this video is from firstpost.com. It says why nobody is posting on social media anymore. Let's check this out real quick.
For our next story, let's talk about the internet. It has never felt louder and busier. Ads, reels, AI slop, viral videos, it's like a constant digital screaming match. And that seems to have put off the people who make the internet because they are going quiet. Let me show you a study. It says that social media activity is dropping across the world. This study was conducted in 50 countries. It involved more than 250,000 people. That's a pretty decent sample size, and here's what it found. Social media usage is down by 10%. People are leaving, and it's mostly young people, the people who grew up with their phones. They're turning away. Turns out this trend also has a name. It's called posting zero. It's a fancy name for a simple reality. Basically, people have stopped posting their lives on social media. That is posting zero. And here's why it's happening. The study has given 3 reasons. First, the polished nature of social media. When these platforms first came, they weren't so curated. There were breakfast photos, pet photos, gym selfies, random life updates that no one really asked for. It was chaotic, but it was also human. It was messy, but apparently that was the point of it. But look at your feed now. It looks like a shopping mall designed by an AI bot. Every scroll shows you a skincare ad, a reel that you've already seen 11 times, a guy explaining how to make your first million by the age of 24, and an AI model who is definitely not real. Slowly, the real people disappeared. In fact, there's an actual word for what happened. It's on your screen. What it means is this. Platforms start great, then they drown you in ads, then they squeeze everyone dry for profit, and then the whole thing collapses into digital garbage. That's the first reason. The second reason is perception and guilt. A lot of people have not stopped using social media, they've just stopped participating. So they scroll, they lurk, they watch like anonymous ghosts behind a one-way glass, but they don't post. Because they're not sure how they will be perceived. One wrong move and it leaves a mark. Also, no matter what anyone posts, their friends can often not see it. So what's the point of it anyway? Nobody wants to be a part-time influencer for free. Plus, the world is too heavy for selfies, it seems. Every week there's a new crisis. Wars, floods, protests, tragedy. Posting a beach photo amid all of this feels wrong, apparently, especially to the Gen Z.
Yeah, that's a good point because look, what is there to rejoice in, man? Okay, people are dying. The world is at war. Okay, America is breaking down internally. You see what I'm saying? People are struggling, barely making it. Okay, they hate their jobs. They hate their lives. You know, people don't really have it as they try to, you know, put that front up on social media. So what is there to really, you know, to rejoice about, you know? Real quick. 2nd Ezra 16 and 37, it says, behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack. Look at the state of the earth. Okay? The world is literally being plagued. Pestilence, destruction, wars, right? It says, as when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son, with 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb, which pains when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. And this is where we are in prophecy, man. Those labor pains are increasing. They're accelerating. They're not slacking. Okay, the destruction is even closer. YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHWAHSHI is even closer. It says, even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side. So that's what's happening here, man. The world is in sorrows, man. People are mourning. Okay, nations are at war. People are struggling, man. Great death is amongst the land. Okay, all of the confusion that's going on in the politics, and you know, it's just a lot of madness. You know, the GMO foods that people are eating, these different JABs that these people took. People are sick, dropping dead, cancer. Okay, there's no true justice in the world, no peace. Okay, all these talks of peace agreements and all of that bullshit is not happening, man. We're in a time of the end of this world, the end of Esau's world. Okay, the end of Babylon the Great. Right? Verse 40, O my people, hear my word, make you ready to thy battle, and in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth. It says, yeah, that's it. So let's go back, you know, just thinking out loud, man, because there's no reason for people to rejoice, right?
They see it as tone deaf and insensitive, so they stop posting altogether. The third reason is the dead internet theory. Now, what does that mean? What's the dead internet? It's the idea that much of the internet is now just bots. By some estimates, automated traffic has overtaken human activity. It made up more than half of all internet traffic in 2024. We're talking about your content mills, AI-generated views, and fake accounts pumping out fake engagement. And I know what you're thinking. Who is sitting and analyzing social media like it's the GDP of a country? But such are the times we live in. We've reached a point where posting a picture is a full-blown sociological event. And somehow everyone is part of it. Everyone has become a part-time cultural critic. Imagine telling someone in 2009 that one day we would need global research studies to understand why people are not uploading. But here we are, running worldwide surveys to figure out why humanity is tired of pressing post. But as funny and ironical as it is, the internet has never been louder and the people have never been quieter. These platforms were built for people to connect. But somewhere along the way, they stopped feeling human. So can we ever go back? Maybe we can if the platforms breathe between ads. If feeds start showing actual friends again, if posting feels human, not performative, if we remember the joy of sharing stupid little moments. Because the real internet, the fun internet, was not built by brands and bots. It was built by people.
Yeah, there you go. So like she was saying about the bots and the artificial videos and pictures, you know, scriptures talk about how's it go, how leasing should be hard at hand, man. Everything is fake. It's hard to tell what's real. You see what I'm saying? And people are tired of it. That she was going into. I thought this was, you know, a unique video, right? But we discussed that this internet and all the folly was soon to be wiped away anyway. It's time. You know, the internet of things, right? Social media pretty much destroyed the way people interact, man. So it's time for all of this shit to go. Bottom line, right? Isaiah 24 And 7, it says, the new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth, all the merry-hearted do sigh. The mirth of the verse 8, the mirth of the tabret ceaseth, the noise of them that rejoiceth endeth, the joy of the harp ceaseth. Right? So we're seeing again the you know, the rejoicing is coming to an end. There's nothing to rejoice about. There's nothing to the post anymore. You know, the internet is drying up. Everything, this internet and how people, you know, react, all of that's getting played out. You know, it says, they should not drink wine with the song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. The city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up that no man may come in. There is crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. So that's what I was thinking about. You know, it's just, you know, all the glory of Babylon, America is slowly fading away. Okay, people are tired, right? When you read this chapter, it talks about, you know, how the people languish. Okay, people fadeth away, right? Isaiah 24:4 says, the earth mourneth and fadeth away, right? The world languish and fadeth away. The hardy people of the earth do languish. Yeah, everybody's dying. People are, you know, broken, tired, and, you know, people are worn out. So again, the point, what is there to really be happy and have mirth and rejoicing, man? Okay, we're at the end of the world. Right? Jeremiah 7:34, then will I cause to cease from the cities of Judah in the streets of Jerusalem the voice of mirth and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, for the land should be desolate. So again, as we were talking about, you know, people are just dropping dead, you know, just giving an example. All right, this is from newstarget.com. Toxic tap water. Millions of Americans exposed to cancer-causing chemicals. We're not going to read it because we've been known about this information, but this just contributes to the problem. Okay? Chemtrails. Okay? All these different JABs these people took. The GMO foods, the lab-created foods, and, you know, just everything, all the corruption and scandals that's bringing this place down, man. Okay? Everybody's worn the hell out. Right? Anyway, so let's get to the point here. You know, let's go back to the UBI, right? But this is back in 2023, right? Universal basic income. Listen carefully. I played this before, and before we go into the CNN video. But this is what Elon
there will be
Musk was
fewer and
talking
fewer. There will be fewer and fewer jobs that a robot cannot do better. What to do about mass unemployment? This is going to be a massive social challenge. And I think ultimately we will have to have some kind of universal basic income. I don't think we're going to have a choice.
Universal basic income.
Universal basic income, I think it's going to be necessary.
So it means that unemployed people will be paid across the globe
Yeah.
because there is no job. Machine robot is taking over.
That's simply and I want to be clear that these are not things that I think that I wish would happen. These are simply things that I think probably will happen. And if my assessment is correct and they probably will happen, then we need to say, what are we going to do about it? And I think some kind of a universal basic income is going to be necessary. Now, the output of goods and services will be extremely high. So with automation, there will come abundance. There will be almost everything will get very cheap. I think I think we'll just end up doing universal basic income. It's going to be necessary. The harder challenge, much harder challenge, is how do people then have meaning? Like a lot of people, they derive their meaning from their employment. So if you don't have, if you're not needed, if there's not a need for your labor, how do you, what's the meaning? Do you have meaning? Do you feel useless? That's a much harder problem to deal with. There will be fewer and fewer jobs that.
Yeah, so listen to what he said, man. If you're no longer needed, right, meaning they replaced you, okay, with the whatever, robot, AI, whatever, then what is your purpose, you know? You see? So you got to be able to read the room, man. Okay? It's about to get real out here. Let's play this video from CNN. Again, AI's job shakeup is accelerating. Is it time for universal basic income? Okay, we're here.
AI is no longer an abstract threat. It's causing job loss right now, and the headlines, they tell the story. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, on Wednesday released a study that found that artificial intelligence can already replace 11.7% of the U.S. labor market, or as much as 1.2 trillion in wages across finance, healthcare, and professional services. The New York Times recently reported that Amazon is on the cusp of replacing what would be 600,000 warehouse jobs with robots and plans to automate 75% of its operations. CNBC reporting that Salesforce, Walmart, Paramount, UPS, YouTube, and Meta have all announced new rounds of layoffs attributable to AI, with nearly 1 million job cuts nationwide this year.
Yep. Isaiah 19. It's all coming to pass. It's Isaiah 19 and 15. And it reads, it says, neither shall there be any work for Egypt. Neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or tail, branch or rush may do. Okay? You will no longer be needed. Okay?
That's the job loss that we can measure. Now consider what some are predicting about the future. Goldman Sachs estimating that 6 to 7% of the U.S. workforce could be displaced due to AI adoption. They do note, however, that the impact may only be transitory because new opportunities created by AI might ultimately put people to work in other capacities. A report by the McKinsey Global Institute finding that AI could displace 40% of American jobs due to automation by 2030. That analysis found that robots and AI agents could automate more than half of U.S. work hours, both manual and cognitive, using technology that's available today if companies redesigned how they'll do things in the future. The World Economic Forum projecting that 92 million jobs worldwide may be displaced by 2030. Ford's CEO saying that AI could replace half of all white-collar workers there. NYU professor Scott Galloway predicting that AI will hit middle management first, noting that 6% dropped in managers at public companies since 2022. So here we are, AI eliminating jobs, more automation coming. If millions of people lose work, how will they support themselves? This is where an idea from the 2020 presidential campaign returns to the conversation. Universal Basic Income, or UBI. The concept, pretty straightforward. Every American adult would receive a set check each month. For Cook County, Illinois, which includes Chicago, this concept just became reality. The Cook County Board of Commissioners unanimously approved its 2026 budget proposal just this month. It includes $7.5 million for a guaranteed basic income program. Commissioners approved it after the success of a pilot program, where the county provided $500 a month to 3,200 households over 2 years. Survey findings based on that pilot revealed that 94% of the program recipients used the funds to address financial emergencies. 75% reported feeling more financially secure. 70% said that the program had a positive impact on mental health. Of course, there's the question of how do you pay for it? In the case of Cook County, as a result of the decrease in commercial real estate values, everybody's property taxes are now sky high. In Chicago, rising 16.7%, the largest jump in at least 30 years. West Garfield Park saw an increase of 133%, North Lawndale 99%, Englewood 82.5%. And there's pushback from the Illinois Policy Institute, which cites concerns about workforce and income effects. Quote, Cook County is making its guaranteed income pilot permanent and committing millions to a failed strategy already shown to leave people with less work experience and lower earnings.
Yeah, they leaving. They gonna leave the people out to dry, man. This is it right here. Hey, they gonna crash. Okay, again, back in 2 Ezra 16. Okay, when this many people are out of work, what do you think is gonna happen, man? You think people just gonna sit there? Second Ezra 16 and 17. Woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings. We just talked about that. Okay? The sorrows that are plaguing the world. How the world is in mourning, the people. The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death. The beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Right? As Elon was saying, right? You know, if you're no longer needed for the workforce, then basically, what's your purpose? Why are you here? Right? That's the devil, man. Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. All right? These are the judgments, man. Behold, for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. Right? Hey, here it is. Hey, they're getting ready to pull the rug from under your ass, man. Okay? People are going to be scrambling. Okay? It's going to be more people. Like they're getting rid of the, they've gotten rid of the middle class, and it's the poor and it's the rich. That's all it is. And people are not paying attention. Okay? They're going to usher in that system. It's here. Behold, victuals should be so good cheap upon earth, they should think of themselves to be in a good case. Even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sore famine and great confusion. That's happening now, man. Okay? They're saying, look, you don't even need the work. We're just going to pay you. You're not going to own nothing. You know, they're going to roll out that MOTB. If you want to be part of the new society, you know, you got to take it. Okay? More wars internally, civil unrest, people, you know, rebelling against the system. All right? Great confusion. Right? For many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. Man, let's finish it out.
Back in 2020, it was presidential candidate Andrew Yang who called his version of universal basic income the freedom dividend, specifically $1,000 per month, no work requirements, no means testing, a direct payment to help people cover bills, weather economic transitions, and adapt to a job market reshaped by technology.
Hey, what did we just read? It said, because victuals should be so good cheap upon earth, they should think themselves to be in a good case. All right? Even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sore famine and great confusion. Man. Majority of these people are clueless, man. Okay?
Andrew Yang joins me now. Andrew, nice to have you back. I pulled a profile of you from 2018 when you were just on the cusp of announcing your candidacy. Here's a quote that you provided to the author of the piece. You said, "Need is self-driving cars to destabilize society. In a few years, we're going to have 1 million truck drivers out of work who are 94% male with an average level of education of high school or 1 year of college. That one innovation will be enough to create riots in the street. And we're about to do the same thing to retail workers, call center workers, fast food workers, insurance companies, and accounting firms."
Yep, see? This is the spirit. This is exactly what I'm talking about. All right? What you think is going to happen? It's going to be riots. It's going to be all types of shit breaking loose in the streets of America, man. Second Ezra 15. Okay? Second Ezra 15 and 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. And you're going to have people standing up against these corporations. Okay? These the techno oligarchy. All right? These technocrats. All right, people are going to rise up, these CEOs. All right, we brought this up before. A lot of those CEOs are getting more protection because people are coming after them. Okay, it's going to be next level. It says, verse 16, "For there should be sedition among men, and invading one another. They should not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in the power." Right. So people going they're going to lose their minds, man. They're going to crash out. Okay? They ain't going to have no other choice. You took away their job. How are they supposed to survive? How are they supposed to sustain a family? You know?
It was 7 years ago. How is that quote aging?
It's aging very, very well, unfortunately, Michael. I'm so glad that we're having this conversation. 44% of American jobs are either repetitive manual or repetitive cognitive, and thus could be subject to AI and automation. And we're seeing that unfold right now. It's heartbreaking for me because I feel we could be doing much, much more for the millions of Americans who are going to be displaced.
I know that Cook County is just a microcosm, but I'm sure in hearing about their experience, people are wondering, okay, Andrew Yang, we're on board. Now we get it. What you saw 7 years ago, the rest of us see, but how do we pay for it?
The CEO of Anthropic, Dario Amodei, just raised his hand and said, you guys should tax us, the AI firms. And right now, hundreds of billions of dollars of value is being realized by Anthropic and these other firms on the back, by the way, of data that we all provided unwittingly and didn't agree to it. But it's trillions of dollars of value, and most Americans aren't going to see a dime of that. So if you have the CEO of an AI company saying you should tax us, I think we should take him up on his suggestion. And if you have an AI tax or a compute tax, you get to very big numbers very quickly.
So they're now referring to the Magnificent Seven, or the S&P 493 instead of the S&P 500. Put a graph on the screen right now for the benefit of everybody at home. The Washington Post had this coverage. And the point was that if you strip out Alphabet, Amazon, Apple, Meta, Microsoft, Nvidia, and Tesla, then the market's doing okay, but the market surely isn't doing what it's doing when you include those seven. And I guess my question for Andrew Yang is, what happens if that is a bubble and it bursts? Then how do you fund the freedom dividend or universal basic income?
Well, right now, a lot of the value that's getting generated is being hoarded or held by a handful of companies, Michael. I think you're right that we should be trying to spread those value gains more broadly across the market and to people. Right now, US GDP is around $85,000 per person and trending upward, because regardless of whether AI as an investment thesis is a little bit overhyped, you know that it's going to have a positive effect on GDP. So if you have 85,000 ahead, then having $12,000 a year, which I proposed in 2020, actually seems pretty modest and reasonable. And that's going to be affordable regardless of what happens with some of these firms' valuations.
As you envisioned the freedom dividend, there was no means testing. Everybody gets a check, whatever that amount might be. What becomes of other federal assistance?
Well, I intended the freedom dividend to try and clear up and clean up some of the bureaucracy and administration that's current.
Yeah, so you can check the rest of that. So that's the point, man. This thing is coming. All right? They're rolling it out. Shalom.